Hello, is that Nakia? I see Nakia Clark. How you doing, Nakia? I always see Nakia. I love it when you come show up, Nakia. Good to see you, sister. And I see Bernadette and Harold. Good to see you. Okay, so as far as the chat goes, I'm not even going to call these ground rules because I'm not here to make rules. I'm just here to make suggestions and polite requests. Whatever question you have, if you could make it short, that helps, so that I can get through all the questions. So like one sentence questions are good. Sometimes I get questions that are like, yesterday my mama broke her big toe, and then after that my Uncle Willie started a business on toe therapy, but then the business went bankrupt because he chopped off somebody's toe by accident, and now my mother isn't speaking to me, and she hired a lawyer and needs me to open up another business on how to fix toes properly. And it becomes like this crazy long drawn out sort of thing, and that's a lot. But if you have short questions to the point, then that's really, really good. That's what these Black Wealth conversations are for. And also I'm letting a few of you who are not in the room watch, sort of listen in on the chat. Just know that if you want to be a part of the Black Wealth conversations, join us over at the Black Business School, and and you can be a part of the discussion. Okay, so as you guys figure out what questions you'd like to throw in there, put your questions in the Q&A section. If you put them in the chat, I may see them, I may not. I will definitely see your question if it's in the Q&A section. That's where I'm going to be looking for questions. So put it in the Q&A section of the chat. What do you think about Tesla's rally? I don't really know. I mean, William said that it's prone to drop. Yeah, it could drop. Or it could continue. Remember, people used to say, that Amazon was overpriced, when it was like $100, right? And now I think Amazon, last I checked, I think Amazon was about $2,000 a share. Is that right? Let me see. Price of Amazon stock, $2,049. And so what I can show you guys is I can screen share, so you can sort of take a look at my what I'm looking at here, and you can kind of see it for yourself. So you look here at Amazon stock, right? It's at $2,049, and you see where it used to be as low as 500, 700. Like when it was around here, 659, 700, 800, people thought it was severely overpriced. And then when it started to drop, maybe right here, I'm sure there were people saying, "Ha, I told you so. I told you it was overpriced. You were suckers for investing in that stock." And then you see it came right back up. So you can go back with Amazon, go back 5 years. You could have bought it for $374. Go back further than that. Go back to about 2002. You could have bought it for $15. So now this $15 stock is worth $2,000. So that's like buying a house on the cheap for $15,000. Imagine if you bought a house for $15,000, and 20 years later that house was worth $2 million. $15,000 or $7,000. Here's $7,000. So even lower than that, right? Up to $2 million. Like that's the scale that you're looking at there. And so, 2020 or hindsight is 2020. And also people sometimes get trapped in the moment. That's what I would call it. Trapped in the moment is when you see something and you don't think about what it could become. You're only thinking about what it is and what it is relative to what it used to be, what it was yesterday. And so I don't know if that's a healthy way to look at investing. There's a lot of things happening right now that people did not expect 10, 20 years ago. Let's see here. Harold, how is the impeachment trial affecting the stock market, tariffs, and job creation? Not very much. I don't think the impeachment trial is hurting the stock market at all. And the market's been moving, from what I've seen, it's been responding mostly to the coronavirus, and certain global events. I honestly think the impeachment trial is seen as just a big joke, because he wasn't going to be impeached. It wasn't going to happen based on what I've been reading. So some would say that it was kind of a fiasco, just grandstanding, just an exercise in futility. It has nothing to do with whether you like Trump or dislike Trump. It's the fact that they didn't have the votes to pull it off, and that's just what it was. What is the most important wealth habit to adopt for Black people? To teaching your kids different ways to make money outside of just getting a job. There are three major ways that people make money and obtain capital. The obtaining of capital is the way that wealthy people become wealthy. It's the way, self-made millionaires become millionaires. Capital can work harder than you can. You are actually a form of capital. Like as a human being, you're what is called human capital. But human capital, it depletes, right? You get old, you get tired. There's only 24 hours in your day. Whereas other types of capital, like stocks and bonds, real estate, and owning a business, those are more efficient forms of capital. So I think if I had a child now, well, I do have children I raise. They're not my biologicals, but when we talk about money, I talk to them about technology and entrepreneurship, just knowing how to start businesses and build businesses, how to make investments. And technology is important because technology can lead to automation and the development of systems that allow you to make money. So, the way you might have been taught about making money would be something like this. It would be, okay, if you work 20 hours a week and you make $20 an hour, then you'll get $400 a week. A better way to think about making money is to say, if you sell your units for $20 a piece and you sell 20 units, you make $400. What that does is that takes time out of the equation. So you're no longer trading hours of your life for money. You're just, you can make all that money in a second. You can make $1 million. You can sell 20,000 units in 10 seconds, and then time gets taken out because so effectively what's happening is the reason that so many people, especially our people, lose in the existing economic system is because you're making what I consider to be the impossible trade. The impossible trade is where you trade something that is infinitely valuable for something that is only finitely valuable. You're trading something that's infinitely valuable, meaning hours of your life and your health, your well-being psychologically, in exchange for enough money for you to pay the bills. And so if you watch that documentary on Netflix called Explained, where they actually talk about, wealth and inequality, where it comes from. One of the things they pointed out very accurately is that part of the reason that the wealthy are getting extremely wealthy at the expense of the people is because there's no shortage of people that can do labor for you. Labor has diminishing value. Because there's just so many damn people out here now that they have access to a global labor market, and they can get products made in India and pay somebody $10 a day because there's just so many damn people in India. Then there's another billion in Africa. Then there's another billion in China, right? So they have access to so much labor, but you only have so much access to capital and to investors and stuff like that. So there's an oversupply of labor, which is why I think working class people aren't winning in this existing system. So it doesn't mean you should be ashamed of being working class. It just means you want to make sure you have an ownership hustle. Like, what are you going to own? What do you actually have that's yours? What capital do you have in your life? How do I quit my job and quit my job and become financially independent within 30 days? Well, 30 days is kind of tough. If you have no savings, it's going to be tough to do. But if I wanted to quit my job, one of the things we taught in the Black Wealth Bootcamp is basically figuring out sort of where it is you want to be, and then positioning yourself close to people who are doing what you're doing. So, for example, if I want to be an investor, I would join an investment club, because that allows you to be in a space where investment becomes part of the culture. It's almost like joining a gang. Like if I want to be a gangster, maybe I join a local gang, right? So same thing is true. If I want to be an investor, I join a gang of investors. Or if I want to be an entrepreneur, I join a gang of entrepreneurs, where entrepreneurship becomes part of the culture, making money becomes part of the culture. And because not only do you learn skills, but you also encounter people who are going to bring entrepreneurial energy into your space. So again, it's like if I'm Tekashi 6ix9ine and I want to be a gangster, then he goes and he joins up with the Bloods. I think they're called the 9th Street Bloods or something like that. So not only does he learn the gangster culture, but he's also, people are bringing gangster stuff to his table, right? They're bringing unusual situations to his table that he then gets involved with. And for him, it was a very bad thing. But for you, it can be a good thing if you're joining a gang of entrepreneurs. What happens? So you're not just going to learn the culture of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs will bring deals to you. They will come to you and offer you opportunities. They'll come to you with great ideas. They'll come to you with capital. And so, so think about the spaces that you operate in, and operate around people that are thinking about making money, and then you'll probably make money too. When should I bring people into my business? People have been asking if I can teach them how to make my jewelry. Well, that's a process, Shalonda. There's no particular time where there's a win, but when it should happen, like a definite time. I would definitely just make sure you learn. You may want to, take a class or something on just running a business, just, delegation. I know our staff, we have our team read books and stuff like that on how to delegate, how to manage people, how to manage processes. It's not easy. It's a transition. And when you bring people in, you got to be, careful and thoughtful about the mindset of the people that you bring in. Chances are if you're an entrepreneur and you're running a business, nobody cares about your business as much as you do. And so you'll have people that may come work for you and they may just be there for the money and don't really care if the business lives or dies. They're just like, I want my money and that's it. So basically, you just have to kind of be prepared for that. And also you have to be prepared for the fact that if you hire someone and you say, hey, I'm going to pay you $30,000 a year to help me, they're going to come to depend on that money, so you want to be really careful about making commitments like that will lock you into situations that you may not want to be locked into long term. By the way, there's a very short discount you guys can actually use to get 80% off any class you want to take in the Black Business School right now. The discount code only works for the first 40 people that use it. If you go to theblackbusinessschool.com, pick any class, use the code Black History Month 2020. Black History Month 2020, all one word. You can get 80% off whatever program you sign up for. So if you want your kids to be in our Black Business School for Children, you can get 80% off right now by going to Black Millionaires of Tomorrow and using the code word Black History Month 2020. So Black History Month 2020. It works for the first 40 people though, so it's going to shut off after that because we can't, cut everything by 80% all the time. But that's just kind of a special thing for you guys. Black History Month 2020. So go to theblackbusinessschool.com and you can find all of our programs listed right there. I'll do a screen share in a little bit. You can take a look. Herb says recommendations on how to push some of our people away from poverty mindset and others toward wealth mindset and actions. I'm not a believer in trying to push people. I'm a believer maybe in exposing people to things. If you expose them to things, then they're gonna pay attention to what they want to pay attention to. If you push them toward things, there's a good chance they're gonna reject you. People don't always respond well when they feel like they're being preached at and stuff like that. So I don't really enjoy preaching to people, especially if they don't want to listen, because that's only going to frustrate you and it's going to frustrate me. So rather than preaching at you, I just show you. I just go out here, I do my thing, and I do my best, and I take care of me and my family. And then everybody wants to survive, and so they're going to notice if you're successful or not. So the best way to teach is to be successful. People pay attention to that. Charles, do you think Amazon is a better play for a retirement portfolio versus a general portfolio? No. One stock is never a good play. You want to diversify. Spread your money out. Can you talk about the HELOC for homeowners? No, I do not know. I'm not an expert on that. We do have a real estate program. If you want to go check out our real estate program, let me see. Julian Gordon is really good, and he's our real estate dean. If you go to the blackreigroup.com, theblackreigroup.com, you can find Julian's program. Let me see, the blackreigroup.com. Let me see here. Let me see. Here we go. Yeah, it's the Black Real Estate Investors Mastermind Group. They do real estate all day, every day. And Julian is damn good. He's one of the best, I've seen at this kind of thing. And we did an event in New Orleans recently, and it was really good. So here's kind of an overview or a quick look at sort of what the page looks like in terms of all the things that he kind of covers. And he meets with students every week. And all they do is they just, they buy multifamily properties and stuff like that. And that URL is theblackreigroup.com, THE, theblackreigroup.com. And so you can see there's a ton of curricula in there and there's a ton of stuff in there. So feel free to go check that out. Let's see here. Is it true that you should make an LLC in Delaware? Yeah, well, Delaware is one of those places that is like a haven for businesses. Like a lot of businesses like to incorporate in Delaware because the taxes are lower and they kind of just, some places just make themselves attractive to corporations, for mostly tax reasons. So Delaware is one of those places. They're also like little islands all around the world and stuff like that, where rich people go to hide their money and all that kind of stuff. Pamela Williams, I'm thinking about filing bankruptcy to get from student loan debt. Will I lose with stocks and bonds I have invested in? Pamela, look into that. Last I checked, you cannot write your student loans off in bankruptcy. So that's not, so student loans, they follow you around because the government just sort of does that. So I wouldn't, I don't think that's a good strategy to get rid of student loan debt. I would, I think killing student loan debt is better done by figuring out ways to accelerate your income than it is by trying to, constantly cut costs and cut into your budget. That's very depressing to think I got to live like a miser for the next 25 years so I can pay off my student loans. I'll get them paid off just right before I die. That's not an exciting thought. I think a more exciting thought is to say, if I go out here and I figure out a way to make an extra $1,500 a month or an extra $2,000 a month, right? That, that can make a big difference in my life. I know a lot of people who do that. There are thousands and thousands of people that are just like you who are doing that right now. Not building multi-million-dollar businesses, but just making an extra $2,000 a month. You'd be amazed how an extra $2,000 a month can change a lot of things for you, make it easier for you to save, allow you to go from living in a modest house to a very nice house, make student loan debt repayments much, much easier, allow you to accelerate that. So I would kind of start with the baby steps. Danielle Pierce at economicelevation.com has, I think she has a little program on exactly how to do that, how to make an extra $1,500 a month. And so her website is economicelevation.com. Feel free to go to economicelevation.com. What is your take on high yield savings accounts? I'm not a fan of saving. I mean, I just think banks, the interest that banks pay is kind of ridiculous. It's really a joke. I don't even think about it, honestly. Mitchell says, do ETF brokerages, moneymakers, leverage themselves against their clients? Oh, exchange traded funds, broker, moneymakers leverage themselves against their clients. I think they could. I don't know about any laws that will forbid that. But that's kind of beyond the scope of this conversation. But basically, market makers are people that are in the stock market that sort of create a market for buyers and sellers that want to buy and sell, assets. So the reason that you're able to buy stock is because somebody's selling the stock somewhere. So there has to be like a middleman in the middle that's actually making the transaction happen and connecting the investors. So the creation of markets is a really important function of an economy. And so like, for example, the reason that sites like Match.com are worth billions of dollars is because they're making a market. They're bringing together men who are looking for women, women who are looking for men, and then men who are looking for men or whatever, right? I ain't judging. And basically creating that market allows them to make money because people pay them a transaction cost to create the market. So the stock market kind of functions in the same way. And it's a really valuable function for any economy. Any economy that has a good, well-functioning stock market is usually going to be better off economically than another economy. Let's see here. Amber says, my husband and I started our own record label. Very nice. He's the creative side. I'm the business side. We need help financing it. How and where do we start? Well, let me just say this. If you have a small business, most banks are not going to loan you money just based on the quality of your idea. I think it's a myth that you can just have some great idea and go to Bank of America and they'll give you $100,000 to pursue it. I don't see that happen very often. Usually the first person to invest in your business has to be you. And that might mean either using some of your own money and bootstrapping your way up, or it could mean using your own credit and because if you have a small business, chances are if you go get a loan, there are places that will loan you money. Like there are alternative lenders like PayPal and Cabbage, stuff like that. But they're going to want your credit. They're going to want you to put your name on it. They're not going to let you protect your hide behind an LLC most of the time. So, I'm a believer that there are ways to kind of make that happen in creatively speaking. And so one of the things we cover in my masterclass is how to create an economy, and which comes from what I call the 3 C's, which is a market for capital, a market for contractors, and a market for customers. If you understand those 3 markets, then you can understand how to build any business, anywhere with any group of people. And the thing about it is that you can actually get financing without actually getting money. Like, so for example, if I barter with you, or if I do you a favor, if you just say, hey, Boyce, will you come and do, this work for us? And that I might normally charge $5,000, but you just say, hey, Boyce, I'll just owe you one, or I'll pay you later. within the next year, then I basically have loaned you money, because when companies borrow money to get their business going, first thing they do is they go hire people and stuff, right? So just by having people maybe in your family or friends where you give them an IOU or you kind of just make an agreement with them, not only is it easier to obtain credit that way, but it's also an easy way to obtain the financing that you need. Also, I wouldn't try to go big too fast. A lot of people feel that they have to be as big and as grand as their competitor, and I'm not a believer in that. I'm a big believer in bootstrapping, where you earn you earn the money and then you can invest what you earn, as opposed to investing a bunch of money and getting way ahead of yourself and then trying to play catch up later with a business model that you don't even know is actually going to work. So, like, for example, a record label, that's a tough one. We did a whole class. If anybody wants to go take a look at it, feel free. At intelligentbossmoves.com. Intelligentbossmoves.com is where Damon Dash, who created Rockefeller Records with Jay-Z, Damon Dash and I sat down and we did about 50 to 100 hours of content where all we talked about was how Damon and Jay-Z were able to bootstrap the development of Rockefeller Records and the Rockefeller brand. And so Damon and I are very different, in terms of how we think about business. He's a much bigger risk taker than I am. In certain areas, but he's smart in his own way, right? And so that was an interesting conversation about how you could see where their creative thinking is what allowed Jay-Z to exist. I think if Jay-Z and Damon Dash, and this is true for a lot of people in the music industry, in my opinion, if Jay-Z and Damon Dash had been thinking the way everybody else thinks, or the way a white or Jewish record label owner was thinking, you never would have heard of Jay-Z. Jay-Z would not exist. Jay-Z would not be out here at all if they had not been able to find a way around that process. And so I would say you got to be creative, really creative, and be careful in the music industry, because it's making money from music is something that requires you to really think carefully about monetization. In fact, we have a term in our company, we call it being a mom. I always tell people in my team, I'm like, well, if you want to be successful in business, you should become a mom, which stands for Master of Monetization. That's where you understand, that, okay, yeah, you got to produce the product, and then you got to distribute the product, then you got to monetize the product. And so people who like Lamar Tyler, who are experts, he's a mom, he's a master of monetization. People like that tend to do really well, because what they're able to do is they're able to take anything of value and find a way to extract the wealth from that, right? So, for example, if you have a gigantic YouTube channel with hundreds of thousands of followers, if you're a mom, then you shouldn't have any problem making a living from that audience, right? So, I would spend some time really being creative about that, because music has really changed a lot. And I'd be nervous about trying to start a record label. I would really think carefully about how you're going to monetize that. But I think you can do it. I'm just saying, be thoughtful about it. Okay. And by the way, the Dame Dash class, if you want to take a look at it, guys, it's intelligentbossmoves.com. That's intelligentbossmoves.com. So feel free to go over there and take a look, and all the curriculum, everything is still there, so you can go through it if that's something of interest to you. How to invest as a beginner, where to start with little money. Well, the best way to start is to start right now. If you're not an investor right now, just open up your Cash App, open up Acorn, Stash, or Robinhood, and just start investing. Just buy something. And then next week, buy something different. And then the week after that, buy something different. And then have money automatically come out of your checking account where you buy something new every week. And also, don't be cheap with yourself. Don't cheat yourself. Like, don't go and give the white man all your economic love when you stop by Popeye's Chicken, or when the Disney puts out Black Panther 2. Give that same love to your future. That means, whatever you're spending on leisure, spend the same amount on your future. Invest this as much as you spend. I'm not telling you not to spend. I'm just telling you to invest as much as you spend, so that your income and your assets and your resources can grow over time, right? Because what I'll see somebody who will go and drop $100, $200 a week on leisure, and then they say, "Oh, Dr. Boyce, I started investing." I'll be like, "Well, how much are you investing?" "Well, I put $10 a week in my stash account." So I kind of challenge that, and I say, well, why would you spend $150 a week at Walmart and $10 a week on your future? At the very least, match it. Put 100 over here and 100 over there. I'm not telling you not to go to Walmart. I'm telling you, invest, go hard or go home. Like those are the people that tend to become self-made millionaires and self-made wealthy people is they go hard. Whatever you go hard at is what you're going to be good at. So like if my little girl in the house, Taylor, she wants to be a dancer. So I tell her, I say, what's the key to being a successful dancer? She says, hard work and practice. And I'm like, yeah, if you want to be good, go hard. You know, so whatever it is you want in your life, you got to go hard at it. If you're not going hard at it, that's why you're not good at it. That's why you don't have it. Go hard, go hard, go hard. Okay, let me keep going. I'm sorry. I need to quit. All right, so let's see here. Do I think Tesla will be in the $1 trillion club in the 10-year decade? I don't know. I guess so. I mean, Elon Musk is a great guy. I think he's very smart. And, you know, and I like what he's doing. So I hope he is. I mean, if he becomes a trillionaire, that'd be good for the world, I think, because he seems to want to do good things in the world. By the way, somebody asked about my masterclass. Let me see. You should create a masterclass just on discipline. Actually, we do have, I have something I put together. Students asked me to do it, so I put it together on, it's not financial at all. This is based on how to succeed in life. And what I did was I took all the philosophies that I put together over time that helped me to succeed, you know, helped me to become the #1 Black student in college, all the way up through all the other things I did in my life. And it's called blackkeystogreatness.com. That's blackkeystogreatness.com. And what I did there was I also break down the mastery of time management. Like if you're a master of time management, then I think you have the ability to do 5 times more than everybody else. The reason most people don't accomplish what they want to accomplish, I believe, is because they can't manage time. It's hard to do that. And so your time gets away from you. I don't waste time. I'm very conscious of my time. The same way you should be conscious of everything. Like when they talk about being conscious and being woke, what does consciousness mean? Consciousness is awareness, right? You're up, you're alert, right? A lack of consciousness is maybe where you're passed out drunk, or you're asleep, or you're not paying attention, right? And so when you think about consciousness, people always use that term like, oh, I'm woke. Well, what does that really mean? Like wokeness, financial wokeness means I'm conscious of where my money's going. If I spend my money's my power. I'm going to be thoughtful and conscious about where I get my money, right? Conscious dating means I'm not going to just step into a bad relationship just because you were cute and you got my attention with a big butt and a smile, or, you know, or some, you know, or you're a girl who chases some guy just because he's got some nice alligator shoes and he said a couple words to you that knocked you off your feet, right? You're conscious. You're thinking about what it means to invest your life in this person, right? So when you talk, same thing with time, like people waste time because they don't have that wokeness when it comes to what you're doing with your time. You have 8,760 hours in a year. And one thing I used to do was I would budget my 8,760 hours that God gave me every year. I would budget the same way you budget money. So you can there's never been a time in my life I've been broke. There have been plenty of times in my life where I had no money, but I've never ever been broke in my life. I've never ever been broke. I've only been without money. And the reason I always knew I was never broke was because I always had 8,760 hours to invest in all the things I wanted to do. So just little things like that help make a difference. I'm totally convinced that to be different from everybody else, you got to think different. And I'm absolutely positively a complete weirdo. And I'm very, very proud to be a weirdo. So if you're also a weirdo, raise your hand, throw your hands up for all the weirdos in the room. Be proud, be weird and proud. Don't try to fit in. Fitting in makes you mediocre. You don't want to spend your life trying to fit in. And by the way, the code to get 80% off, if you go to the Black Business School now, theblackbusinessschool.com, you can get 80% off. The first 40 people, though, the code only works for 40 people. You can use the code Black History Month 2020. That's Black History Month 2020. Let me double check that and make sure it's right. Yeah, Black History Month 2020. You can get 80% off any class that you want to take. So feel free to go take a look over there. I'm a private investigator, and a suggestion on how I can grow such a business. Well, I would join organizations for private investigators. They probably have figured out how to find clients, things like that. I'm a big believer in just education on the things that you want to be good at. That way you're not trying to figure it all out yourself. You know, I wouldn't just sort of dive in and do it all by yourself and be kind of the Lone Ranger at it. Because then what'll happen is it'll take you 5 years to figure out something that somebody could have told you, you know, in one class. They could have told you on the first day, but you spend 5 years trying to figure it out on your own because you didn't want to spend the money to learn it from somebody who knows what they're doing. Anything new that I want to do, I find somebody who can teach me and I pay them to teach me. And I actually enjoy paying people to teach me, because if I pay you $500 or I pay you $1,000 and you teach me how to go make $50,000, then I win. That's a good investment. And I think that same mindset should apply to everything you do. But think about this. I mean, you go to college and you spend $100,000, and what do you get for that? I mean, some of you have degrees that have actually helped you make money. Some of you have degrees that you regret. Some of you have student loan debt, where you spent 4 years learning from a bunch of mediocre white people who don't even know anything about how to make money, who don't know anything about being black, maybe some of whom didn't even want you on campus in the first place. So I'm not telling you that you were silly to go to college. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is think outside the box. You know, again, go hard. Think about the things you want to learn how to do and find people out there that can teach you how to do them. Are the kids' books on sale too? I don't have any codes for the kids' workbooks. I apologize for that. But if you go, but there are bundle packs and stuff like that. So if you want to check out our financial workbooks for children, we spent 2 years putting those together. We actually spent a year putting them together. We didn't like what we saw, so we went back and got our experts back together and said, do it again. And they did it again. It took another year. So this was invented specifically for Black children. So if you'd like to check out our workbooks and flashcards for kids, go to financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. These are excellent tools to teach the children. This is part of what we call Project 2070. I believe that if people like me continue to do what we do, that by the year 2070, Black people can actually take the lead in economic intelligence among all people throughout the world. I think that we can become known not just for being great basketball players, football players, and dancers and rappers, but we can also be known for being great business leaders and owners and investors and economically minded people. And I'm already seeing the results. I mean, the last decade, the work that we've been doing has had a tremendous impact on the world. And I just think it's only going to get better from here. Okay, let's see. How much money should I have before joining an investment club? It depends on the club that you're in. Some clubs require a little bit of money. Some clubs require a lot. We're actually creating investment clubs this year in the Black Business School. So I'll keep you guys posted. Make sure you subscribe at theblackbusinessschool.com. Most of you are already there. If you're not there yet, make sure you sign up at theblackbusinessschool.com. That's where I'm first going to announce and allow people to come in. And then we're going to see how that goes from there. Our goal is not so much to have a club where we're managing your money. We don't want to manage your money. What we want to do is bring you together so you can form clubs and show you how to form clubs, and also develop codes of conduct so that we can have an economic system where within that group, you can have a club of clubs. So an organization where everybody in there is in a club that's in their region or in their city. And then at that point, what can happen is you've developed an economy. So effectively, let's say that we get 1,000 people together and they form, 1,000 people form 10 investment clubs. I don't know, let's say on average, right? And so let's say each of these 10 clubs has an average of $50,000 in capital in their club. Well, that's $500,000 that's there, right? So you have what I would call like a bunch of micro banks that can actually fund Black businesses. So then what you do is, building a pile of capital is almost like it's almost like having like a big, like getting a pet bear in your backyard or something. Now you got to feed the bear, right? So now you got all this capital stacked up, and people that have capital are always looking for opportunities to grow their capital. They're always looking for investments. And so basically with all these groups that have this capital, you then go create what is called deal flow. So we find people that have great ideas and we bring them in front of the group and we say, okay, pitch your idea in 90 seconds or whatever. And then people can decide if they want to invest or own a piece of whatever you got going on. So that's the experiment that we want to do this year. That's the thing I've been thinking about for about 3 years now. And I think that's what we can do that can be helpful to the community. So we can be a facilitator as opposed to actually being the person that's trying to manage the money and all that stuff. I don't really want to get into that type of thing, but I will facilitate and bring people together. Wesley, to get started, you already asked, to get started investing in stocks, should I invest in companies I consume? Sure, why not? But also invest in companies that you don't consume. I mean, there's no really clear sort of tried and true model of investing per se, in the sense of saying, buy these types of stocks, don't buy those types of stocks. Every asset has the value that it's supposed to have for the most part, based on the information that's out there about that company. So, if you have companies that are tech companies, should you invest in tech companies? Well, it depends on if you are okay with the way tech companies operate. Different types of stocks move in herds. So different stocks with different characteristics have different types of behavior. So a tech stock, groups of tech stocks tend to have a lot more volatility because these are smaller, younger companies that have big valuations because they're expected to have high growth rates, right? So that means when things are good, they go way, way up. When things are bad, they go way, way down. That's why when you read the newspaper every day, and you're finding out the stocks that are really taking off, is usually like a tech company like Facebook or Tesla or something like that, which Tesla's kind of a hybrid between a tech company and auto company. So it's kind of a mix. But then, you may have other companies that are like the blue chips, right? The blue chips are a little more rugged and sturdy, right? So they're the ones where they're not going to, you know, when the rest of the market shoots through the roof, they're not necessarily going to shoot through the roof, but they're going to go up. They're going to sort of move with the market and go down with the market, but they're not going to, they're a little sturdier. So if there's a crash, the tech companies a lot of times might go from, you know, you might see a tech company go from $90 valuation to $20, right? Whereas, you know, a company like Coca-Cola is less likely to do that because for various fundamental reasons that we can't cover in this conversation, they just have a different setup and different dynamics. So the best example I can point to is I've been thinking a lot about race car driving because tomorrow Willie T. Ribbs is coming on my podcast. Willie T. Ribbs, his new documentary is called Uppity, is coming out on Netflix tomorrow. He's coming in. He was one of the first Black race car drivers. And they were talking about the difference between driving like a Formula One car, those little cars that have the big wheels, versus driving a NASCAR, which is like big and bulky. It's like the NASCAR is not as fast, but it's like sturdier, it's like heavier, right? Whereas the Formula One cars go faster, but they're lighter. So if you crash a Formula One car, you're splattering all over the place, like pieces of the car going everywhere. Whereas a NASCAR is a little sturdier. So you can almost compare like a tech stock to a Formula One car that goes really fast, but if you crash it, if there's a crash, you're going to have some major problems. To say a NASCAR, which can maybe hit the wall and still be okay, sort of, right? So ultimately, it's not so much a matter of me telling you which stocks you should and shouldn't buy. One thing I do not do, I never do this, never ask me this question. I never tell you which stocks to buy because that's just something that you shouldn't do. And that's not something I do. And this is not investment advice. But what I would do is say, encourage you to take the time to kind of learn the characteristics of different types of stocks so that you can figure out what works best for your portfolio, which ultimately depends on two key factors. One is what they call your risk tolerance, meaning how much risk, how much up and down can you handle, right? And then two, what is your age? So a younger person invests differently from an older person. So that's one of the big differences that you tend to see there. If you want to check out my stock market class, feel free to go to theblackstockmarketprogram.com, THE, that's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. It's a really good program. And also, like everything in the Black Business School, everything comes with a 100% money back guarantee for the first 30 days. If you're not happy for any reason, just let us know. And the email address, if you ever have any questions, you can email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. We have a really good support team. It's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. If you have any questions, any challenges, any issues at all. And if you come to the site and you're not sure, there are actually reps that are on the site that can talk to you and talk you through your personal wealth plan and stuff like that. And also, if you want to get 80% off any class right now for today only, for the first 40 people, and after 40 people, it shuts down, use the code Black History Month 2020, Black History Month 2020, one word. All right, so let's see here. You have went through undergrad to grad to PhD in finance, and now you have success. But for the most part, correct me if I'm wrong, you sort of suggest that you don't necessarily need to go that route in order to create success. But shouldn't that be the primary formula to make money? Education. Yes, education is extremely important. I don't regret getting the education that I have, but I will be honest with you and put it on everything I love. If I could do it over again, I would not have done it the way I did it. I did it that way because I didn't know any other pathway. I did it the way I did it because I didn't have anybody to give me like a clear roadmap on where the money was. I mean, I just wanted to be comfortable economically. Money wasn't really that important to me. I just didn't want to be poor. And I just remember hearing that finance professors make a lot of money. So I was like, I want to be one of those because they make a lot of money and I'm good at school. And so, and also remember when I was coming up, affirmative action and stuff like that was much stronger. So you have more opportunities for Black people. Now, white women have taken up all the affirmative action. So and gay people and stuff, right? So affirmative action is not working anymore. Corporations have changed, the jobs have changed, and the world has changed, right? You just have a better working world, I think, than you did in certain ways. In certain ways, there's just opportunities there now that weren't there when I finished college in 1993. I know that sounds probably ancient to some of y'all, but you know, based on where I was and what I knew in the era that I lived in or that I grew up in, that was the best route for me. But if I'd had, like, let's say I had an entrepreneur in my family who said, you know, if you want to be free, start your own business. Oh, I would have spent all that time I spent working on my PhD. I would have spent all that time learning how to be the best damn entrepreneur I could possibly be. I would have just learned how to think like a moneymaker so I can learn how to start a business and make money that way. Because if I could have made $1 million at the age of 25, I wouldn't need a PhD. I didn't care about that. Like, the education was nice, but you know, it's the right education. It's a matter of getting the education you need to do what you got to do. And sometimes education means going to school. Sometimes education does not mean going to school. Sometimes education means something completely different from, structured, organized education. The other thing that's changed too is it costs too damn much to go to school relative to what it did when I came through school. When I came through college, you could get a couple of jobs and pay your tuition. Does anybody else remember those days when you could actually save the money and pay your own tuition if you really worked hard at it? Now it's not really possible to do that at a lot of universities. So the student loan debt's out of control. And actually, that's the reason why Black wealth is expected to go to zero by 2053. I assume you guys have seen the study that says Black wealth, median Black wealth, meaning the middle, meaning like it's not an average, but it's like the middle. If you took all the Black community and you sliced it right in the middle based on wealth, the median person in that group is going to have zero wealth by the year 2053. Most of that is driven by student loan debt. Why is that? Well, because if you take 100 Black students that go to college, 52 of them will not graduate. So over half of them will not graduate, but they're going to have the debt because they tried and they went and got the debt, but they're not going to graduate. Does anybody know somebody who doesn't have a degree who's got student loan debt? Who knows somebody? Raise your hand if you know at least one person who didn't get a degree but's got the debt, right? So a lot of people are in that category. But then two, out of the 48 that do graduate, half of that 48 cannot afford to pay the debt. They default on their student loan debt. And a default is not just bad for you financially, it's bad for you in that it doesn't just kill the money that you have now, it kills in your opportunity to make money, right? So it's like if I put you behind in a race, that's one thing. But then if I chop your legs off at the same time, then not only have I taken you out of the race, but I completely eliminated your ability to even try to get caught up. So because when you default, then you got all these other issues. You become financially toxic to a point, right? You can't go and you can't get loans to go buy a home. It's harder to get the money that you might need to start a business. You don't have money to invest in the stock market, all these other things that we talk about, right? So ultimately, you got to sort of look at the dynamics of the economy and figure out what works best for you. So I'm not saying that my pathway is just stupid and ridiculous, but I'll say this. My brother thought about doing what I did. He's my little brother. He followed behind me. He wanted to get a PhD. And I said, don't do it. I was like, that I did it the long way. I don't think that's the best route. And my brother's a millionaire. He never had to go get a PhD. Is it better to start an LLC or corporation? How do you know which is best for you? I'm a fan of LLCs because they're built to be simple. Corporations and S corps and all that stuff you do later on down the line when you're making a little bit more money, stuff like that. Where do you save your money? Where do you save your money? I save it in my savings account, invest some of it. Saving will not get you rich. You have to grow your money. Your money has to work for you in order for you to actually become wealthy. How should you budget your money? There's basic ways to make a budget. We have if you go to blackmoney101.com, that's blackmoney101.com. We've got some basic stuff that introduces you to the power of money, how to manage money, stuff like that. So feel free to go to blackmoney101.com. But I'll say when it comes to saving and budgeting, there are different styles out there. There are so many different ways to do it. And so we present, our methods, but there's a lot of ways to budget your money. Let's see, you start by at least documenting financial consciousness, right? Documenting where your money's going. If you don't know where your money's going, you won't know where your money went. And then sort of looking at your income streams and thinking about how many income streams you have and just what it means to be financially secure for you. Financial security, I can tell you what the opposite of financial security is. A lot of people are not financially secure. If you want to be really insecure financially, like if you really want to be in a bad financial place, a vulnerable, scary place to be, would be if you have one stream of income, like one job, where if that job goes away, you have no income. That's bad. One stream of income, a ton of debt, really high expenses, like up to here, no savings, and no investments. If you have those things going on, then you're really vulnerable financially, because all it would take is just one little bad event, and then boom, you're in hell. So what you really want to aim for is to secure yourself. Secure yourself. By looking into how many streams of income you have, figuring out if you can develop another one, saving as well as investing, so that you're making money in multiple ways and your money's actually growing and you've got money for a rainy day. I think having even decent credit or some credit cards with some space on them where, if you have a financial emergency, you're going to be good. Marriage is a type of financial security that a lot of people don't talk about. But marriage, if you can do it right, is a great way to be financially secure. You've got a partner, you got a teammate. Think about it. I mean, is it easier to win a basketball game with one player or to have a teammate, have two players? The hard part is that marriage also requires that in itself is an institution that has to be managed almost like a business. So like Alicia and I, we think of our marriage as an institution, and we understand that investing in that damn thing is really important, because if it doesn't work, then that creates a lot of headaches and a lot of complications and a lot of financial devastation. So I invest in my marriage with her as much as I invest in my business. So you got to do that. Whatever matters to you, you got to invest in it. And also, when you think about other forms of financial security that are starting to come back, I've actually seen people get together and just live cooperatively. A lot of people are getting back to that, where they're like, why should one family have one house? And all three of our families are all struggling individually to maintain our individual households. Well, I've seen families get together where they say, why don't we all just get together and buy a giant house together, and it's cheaper for everybody, and we have all this excess space. I don't see why more people don't consider that. I saw a family that did that. I saw two single moms that did that. Some people thought they were dating each other, which I don't know. That ain't my business. But I don't know. Maybe they weren't. I could see that, right? Like 4 single moms with their kids all getting together. Hispanic families do it all the time, right? They get together and they say, okay, I can afford $1,000 in rent. You can afford $1,000. We can all afford $1,000 in rent. So let's get a place that costs $3,000 a month. That's gigantic. And we just all have our separate spaces. These things are doable. So just think outside the box. Thank you for the code I used to get Julian's course, and I've been wishing for this opportunity. Will African Americans be able to grab a larger share of the pie? Says Baisha. Well, you are welcome. The code, by the way, to get 80% off just today only for the first 40 people. After 40 people, it shuts down. You can go to theblackbusinessschool.com and use the code Black History Month 2020, one word, Black History Month 2020, and you can get 80% off. And you are welcome, Baisha. And will African Americans be able to grab a larger share of the pie? I think we will. I think we can. I think we will. So I'm very optimistic. Do you have a website in mind to invest into Ghana startup companies? I'm thinking about it. One of the challenges with Africa that I'm finding is, every country, every new place you invest has its own laws. We had the same issue with England. Actually, we had some big problems with England in terms of doing business there. And so, that's one of the things we're working on, ways to get around. As time goes on and our staff gets bigger, we can do more, but we can't do everything. We can introduce things, we can bring things to you. Some things we can do, some things we can't do. And as we get more support, we'll be able to do more. And so right now, that is something that I want to do. Like in Ghana, I had a great time. I highly believe in the importance of investing in Africa. I encourage you to look into it. But for now, we don't have anything on the horizon on how to invest in Africa. But we've been talking to some people over there about coming into the Black Business School and helping to teach that. The other thing I found is that you actually have a lot of advantages as African Americans, not just advantages in terms of resources, but also skill. I saw a lot of businesses in Ghana that could actually use our expertise as well. I mentioned to you guys, I talked about all the great things I loved about being in Ghana, but one thing I did not like was I felt that everything was so slow. Things were so, and maybe it was just my experience, but when I was there, everything just took so long. And I was like, I don't know how I can live here and not go crazy, because, and we were talking about that. We were like, gosh, why did it take 3 hours for that to happen? Why did they said we're going to leave at 9. We all got downstairs at 9 and we left at 11:45. Busy people don't have time for that, but that's maybe the American in me. I don't know. Or I went to a restaurant once and it took them 5 hours, almost 5 hours to bring me my food. Now, of course, that's not typical, but there was another restaurant that took maybe 2.5 hours. It's kind of interesting, right? And so I think that as Africa, connects with the global economy, I really think that literally the same way you could have somebody come to America and teach a class on how to do business in Africa. You should have an African American that can go teach Africans how to do business in America or with Americans or with, other people from around the world. It doesn't mean anybody's better, than anybody else. It just means everybody can learn something from everybody. How about that? Let's see here. Mitchell, is it true that I can protect my LLC from being garnished from child support if I have a partner? There are ways, but I'm not going to give legal advice on that. I would talk to an attorney about that, just for the specific ways to do that. But LLCs are built for economic protection. One of the things that wealthy people think about more than anything is how to protect their wealth. 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth within one generation. 90% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth within 2 generations. So the understanding of estate planning and LLCs and all that stuff is so important, and trusts and wills and all that. You know, when you look at somebody like Prince or Aretha Franklin, who died without a will, you might as well just go right up to the white man and write him a check for $50 million. Like, really, like, you might as well just donate, $50 million to the local Klan chapter or something, because that really was a very bad move. And I know we like to, pick up conspiracy theories every time a Black person dies, but I don't believe it. I think that if Prince made a will and it was recorded digitally and he emailed it to 10 people, I don't think all 10 of those people are going to pretend like they never got the will, especially if some of those people were in his own family. I just think that he made the mistake a lot of us make, maybe thinking that he wasn't never going to die or didn't worry about it. I don't know. It's my 2 cents. So one good person that knows a lot about that stuff, attorney Nicole Compton, is actually on the faculty in the Black Business School. She and I are in the 2nd week of a program we call the Black Millionaire Factory. You can feel free to go check that out. theblackmillionairefactory.com, theblackmillionairefactory.com. We meet tomorrow, and she is absolutely amazing at wills, estate planning, trusts, all that stuff, and can really help you understand a lot of these things. So feel free to go to theblackmillionairefactory.com. Sharon, what's the best online site for a novice to buy stocks? I like Acorn Stash, Robinhood. You can buy stocks on the Cash App, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of ways to buy stocks. Do you ever think that we are oversaturated on content? I don't know. It depends on what type of content you're talking about, but I think we are. I mean, I think there's just too much content. I know when you talk about movies, I can't keep up with all the good movies that are out there. Like, Netflix is spitting out all these movies, Disney and all these apps. I mean, I think it's great, but I think eventually they're going to be oversaturated. Like, right now, they're just spending so much money on content. I don't know if you guys know, but Netflix is deeply in debt. Like, Netflix is I think they make a profit, but they doubled their debt. I think their debt went from $6 billion to $12 billion. And you're making insane amounts of money. Like, I can't see how they can get that many more subscribers. But they keep growing and they have all this revenue, and they're not reducing their debt because they're trying to just crank out just so much content. So for content creators, that's pretty good. I mean, they're getting all kinds of money, but I don't think that's sustainable at all. Most of capitalism isn't very sustainable. Capitalism is built on extravagant greed, and I don't think that model is going to work forever. Please repeat the name of the class again, says Karen. I don't know which class it is, but if you're talking about our Black Business School for Children, that's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com, blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's our kids program. The stock market class, you can go to theblackstockmarketprogram.com, theblackstockmarketprogram.com. We have blackmoney101.com, which is part of our Black Money sequence, which goes from 101 to 106. Maybe that's one of the 3, or maybe it's the Damon Dash class, which is at intelligentbossmoves.com. That's intelligentbossmoves.com. We're going to hear a replay for tonight. This replay will be placed inside our lecture series. We have a lecture series that we created. Let me see. I can share the link so you guys can look at it if you want to. It's a lecture series in the Black Business School where we basically store all the lectures that we do, and we have special guests that come in as guest lecturers and stuff like that. And we don't tend to look for people who necessarily just have the credentials. We like to look for people who've actually done it. So, for example, we had a brother that came in who actually has gotten hundreds of millions of dollars in government contracts. And we were like, okay, Black people should learn how to do that. So we brought him in. Walter Cotton was his name. I think that was his name. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in, or I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this URL to the lecture series. If you'd like to sign up for that, feel free to go check that out. I'll put this in the chat so you guys can go take a look at that. Okay, so it's right there in the chat. So feel free to go take a look at the lecture series. And if you join that, you get access to a bunch of stuff in the school. Hey, Dr. Boyce, would you help promote a campaign if it's vital for our Black community? Says Rhonda. Sure. Next time, just say it in your comment, and I'll just shout it out right then. Do you think 2020 is a bullish or bearish year? Says Gregory. I think it's going to be, I don't know. I know that the last decade overall has been pretty bullish. Bullish meaning going up. Bearish would mean going down. I think it's going to keep going up. I think the stock market has been amazing. It's been an easy way to make money the last 20 years. I mean, since most of you were babies, the stock market has been an incredible place to invest. So that's just my 2 cents. Robert Madden, who do you suggest that we follow that piggybacks off your message? Well, I'm a big fan of Dr. Claude Anderson. Ryan Mack out of Detroit is a great guy. He's actually going to come do some stuff in the Black Business School. I love Lamar Tyler, Andre C. Hatchett, Danielle Pierce, my brother out of Philadelphia, Ryan McCrary. Love Ryan McCrary. And a few others. Hey, baby. Oh, she's shushing me. Mitchell, I'm looking to get a government contract for my freight brokerage. Can you direct me to the gentleman who offered consultation for government contracts from your platform? Email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They can connect you with him. I think you're talking about Mr. Cotton, Walter Cotton. Charles Smart, is the vision of the investment club you described intended to create a private equity type culture? Yes, absolutely. I mean, not that we're imitating anybody else, but it's basically collecting capital, bringing capital together so that people who need capital can connect with people who have capital that they want to grow, right? Investing is not one person doing a favor for another person. Investing is a transaction where both people win. You know, it's like really good economic sex, right? You know, sex is not supposed to be something where one person benefits and the other person doesn't. Sex is supposed to be something that everybody enjoys, and you should want to get together to do more of it. And that's what, you know, building a good economy is supposed to do. It's a trade that's beneficial to everybody. How would you recommend leveraging the exponential growth of a city such as Atlanta? You know, I don't know. I got to think about that. Atlanta's growing. It's got lots of Black people. I think Atlanta's already a hub for amazing things in the economy, et cetera. Here. There you go, babe. Thank you. She comes down and she whispers and she writes me notes because she doesn't want to interrupt. She's very polite that way, and that's why I love her. But Atlanta's got a lot of great stuff going on, and so I think I don't know exactly how you leverage that. You just continue to do what you're doing. I mean, I think I have a lot of friends down in Atlanta that are doing amazing things. You know, from Lamar Tyler to Jay Morrison. You know, I think what Tyler Perry's doing is more good than bad. You know, I respect it, and just so many great people down there. It's amazing. Killer Mike. I mean, I can't. David Banner. I got so many friends in Atlanta. I can't keep up with them all, but I love that city, and I think Atlanta's a beautiful place in that regard. Atlanta's got a little bit too much. They got a little bit too much of the materialism, like the whole reality TV culture. Unfortunately, kind of seems to have emerged a little bit too much for my taste. And then also some of the weird stuff going on sexually. I think Atlanta's kind of an interesting place in that way, but beyond that, the good far outweighs the bad. Somebody said, you look good, doctor. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment. Tarsha, are there franchises that can be starter franchises for someone eager to get into business? Well, actually, we have a franchise program. So if you want to go look at our franchise program, I've never bought a franchise, but I'm very interested in franchises. Because they're really good out of the box business models. So if you go to theblackfranchiseprogram.com, theblackfranchiseprogram.com, I think that's where that program is located. And there is excellent material there that you can take a look at. So let me see, theblackfranchiseprogram.com. Let me see if the URL is there. There you go. That's 104 in our Black Money sequence. Remember I told you I have 101 through 106. Well, 104 is how to buy a franchise. Will you please type in your key points for everyday website, please, and the websites with Mr. Dash? Okay, I don't know what you mean by everyday website, Tarsha, but the one with Damon Dash is intelligentbossmoves.com. That's intelligentbossmoves.com. What do you think of Stockpile? I don't know anything about Stockpile. Let me see, stockpile.com. Let's see here. Oh, start investing with just $5 by fractional shares. There are lots of sites that are doing that. I think even at a better rate. So Stockpile is kind of similar to Acorn Stash, Robinhood, Cash App. There's a lot of places you can buy stock now. When I started working in the construction industry, I worked for billion-dollar companies I never heard of. I also noticed these companies got a piece of the pie. Okay, that's a really long question, Robert. I started investing in these companies. Do you have any advice on investing in construction? Make sure you diversify. Make sure you don't overcommit to any one particular investment or any one particular project. That's what I would do. I mean, this is not investment advice, but this is just me thinking through in terms of what I would do. I would make sure I was following the lead of people who understand the construction industry, and never believe that any investment is like the great investment that's going to change your life. That just rarely happens. I think sticking to the fundamentals is the best approach. Does 80% off apply to the financial literacy store items? No, Rhonda, it does not. But what I can do is at some point I can get a code for that. I just didn't bring one today. But if you want 80% off anything in the Black Business School, the first 40 of you can use that code. You can go to theblackbusinessschool.com, and the code is Black History Month 2020. Black History Month 2020, all one word. So if you want to enroll your children in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, just go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Use Black History Month 2020. Or if you go to the site, like you can get access to all the classes, the stock market investing class, all that stuff. Black History Month 2020, one word. So the first 40 people can use it. After that, it shuts off. Let's see. Is it wise to refinance our mortgage from 5.37% to 3.62%, even if I have to pay thousands of dollars in closing costs? It seems better to just use the amount of the closing toward my current mortgage than to refinance for a cheaper monthly rate for a few dollars, particularly when I'm already paying an additional $500 a month toward the principal. Yeah. I mean, they got mortgage calculators online that maybe you can look at that'll factor in your closing costs. But you're right. I mean, if they're charging you a lot up front to close the deal, then that difference in interest rate may not make enough of a difference to make it worth your while. So yeah, I would look at a mortgage calculator. They got plenty of those online. So I would try to go that route so you can actually compare the two. Let's see. How do you feel about 401ks? I love them, Baisha. I think that they are great because tax-deferred investing is a great way to build wealth. Linda Muhammad, do you recommend getting advice from a financial consultant? Yes, I do. Especially when we talk about estate planning, wills and trusts, and forming LLCs, and and growing your money, things like that. I think consultants are good. They're worth the money. And a lot of places will give you a consultant, without it being very expensive. How to rebuild after bankruptcy, says Shalonda. There are plenty of places that would love to loan you money if you could show some evidence that you're actually making money and being financially responsible. There's also ways that you can do things on your credit report that will actually get things removed from your report. And so I actually put together a credit curriculum. I think it's, let me see, was it drboycecredit.com? I think that was the URL we used. Yeah. So if you go to drboycecredit.com, and you can get 80% off if you use that code Black History Month 2020, one word, drboycecredit.com. You can actually take a look at that, at the credit curriculum I put together. And it kind of explains how credit works, how credit scores work, what moves credit scores, and little things that I picked up along the way in terms of how you can instantly improve your credit and the Fair Credit Reporting Act and how that stuff works. And then beyond that, I think you can't go wrong by figuring out ways to make more money, making extra income. So like at economicelevation.com, where Danielle Pierce kind of does her thing, she actually has literally something that just teaches you how to make a little extra money. So that means, you don't have to quit your job. You don't have to, go into a whole nother career. You can just make a little extra money. And then that makes a big difference for some people. Not everybody has to go start a business. Okay, I'm gonna do a couple more questions and I'm gonna bounce out of here. When are you planning to return to Africa? If so, will you be inviting your viewers to come along? I thought about doing another trip to Africa. They actually spoke to me about possibly doing a second wedding in Africa, but a lot of things get talked about, but they don't actually get done. That was another thing that kind of got to me a little bit. I don't think it's anybody's fault in particular, but I don't like that. I don't like talking about something unless we're going to try to actually do something. So either way, though, I'm still going back for sure. I'm going back to Ghana because I love Ghana so much, but I'm also going to go to other countries too. And I'm going to figure out a way. We don't do travel groups that often. And so I got to figure out a way to do it in a way that makes sense. So if you have a travel organization or travel club, or you organize trips and you want to partner with us or something like that, and you have a track record of doing this, feel free to email me. My email is boyce@boycewatkins.com, and just, pitch a proposal, just or anything you guys, I'm always open. Our team is always open to partnerships, but they have to be something that, isn't ridiculous, something that makes sense, right? So for example, I've had groups like churches say, we want you to come in and do an all-day investment seminar at our church. And so we would say, okay, my speaking fee, being real with you guys, is about $10,000 per speech, right? Because I don't like to speak that much. And because when I leave my desk, I have a lot of stuff I have to catch up on. So I don't even like to leave my house. But if they do something like, they say, okay, we got 200 members that all want to, come and do this. And so we say, okay, tell everybody, get $50, each person to put up $50, and then we can do it. Right. And then that way, you're providing the venue, there's money for travel and all the other costs that it takes for us to make that trip. And we can come out there and we can do that for your group or for your organization. So feel free to email us stuff like that. Just make it quick, like make it brief. Like don't be overly long-winded, and make it a win-win. Like don't send, so like people send me stuff where they'll say, hey Doc, I have this great idea. We want your team to do all the work, your team to do all the promotion, and your team to put up all the money. And because it's my idea, we're going to split the money 50-50. Well, that's just not appealing. That's not an appealing way to present a proposal. But if you present something where you say, here's how much I'm going to put up, here's how much I've done, here's what we're offering, what we're bringing to the table, and here's what we'd like you to bring to the table, here's specifically what you can do, and here's specifically how we all win. Those are proposals that make sense, right? Because I get pitched all the time on partnerships, and it doesn't even make any sense sometimes, right? So just, and I understand it, because sometimes we just don't know these things, right? But I can tell you, as a person who's been pitched thousands of times, it's easier if you're presented as a win-win. This goes for not just talking to somebody like me, but talking to your friends, talking to anybody. You got to think about, like, what are you bringing to the table? What skin are you putting into the game? Are you putting forth the labor? Do you have the expertise? Do you have the money? Do you have a venue? Do you have some contacts? Like, what are you bringing to the table? And then you have to be specific with the other person. Like, this is exactly what I need from you. And then you say, okay, and this is how we all win and we all benefit. That's how you make a pitch, especially with a busy person, that only has 60 seconds to evaluate whether or not they're going to even get involved. Because once you choose to get involved, that means, for a busy person, they're taking time away from something else to do the thing that you're pitching. So a lot of good ideas get passed up because you just don't have the time to drop something off your plate. Okay, so that's just me kind of sharing something honest with you guys, and I hope that this helps you. I don't want it to sound weird or confusing. Let me see. Angela. Hey, Angela Green, how are you? I think this is Angela Green, the lawyer, very smart Black lady. Saw you getting serious about indie films and Black Hollywood. I can assist with this. How can I submit information for consideration? Well, Angela, I think you have direct access to our team, but also send an email. Email boyce@boycewatkins.com and send over some thoughts on ways you can be involved with that, because we are doing stuff with films. We're doing Black Movie Night at the Black Business School. Once a month, we celebrate independent Black filmmakers, Black people that you won't see in Hollywood, but who are more talented than the people in Hollywood. People from our community making movies for our people. That some of these people have made movies. They made the movie 10 years ago and nobody saw it, but it was a great movie. They put a lot of time and energy and passion into it. Well, these movies can succeed if we breathe life into them. All a business needs in order to grow most of the time are some dedicated customers that want to see that product, right? So what we realized is that we were like, okay, let's use our platform to shine a spotlight on some of these Black filmmakers who are doing amazing stuff. You got people out here. First of all, Tariq Nasheed, Hidden Colors, has probably made $10 million. Like, that's an amazing beginning to like that Black Hollywood genre that I love so much. You've got people out here like Dorian Chandler. You got Mark Harris, who made Black Coffee. You got Rick Mathis, who made the Black Friday films. You've got Tierra KJ Williams, Madam President. You've got so many great people out here that are doing really good stuff. And I believe that we should take our attention and a lot of our resources that we're putting into white Hollywood and direct it to black Hollywood, or whatever you want to call it, right? Direct that to your own people, right? So Black Movie Night is something we do once a month, and the goal is to feature and focus Black films. We also make films. We have Boyce Watkins films. Our latest release is the Black Love Blueprint. Part 2 is almost done. We already did part 1. We've also made Resurrecting Black Wall Street, the blueprint. We made Democracy, a Black American horror story. We also made Raising a Black Scholar, which is all about the Black homeschool movement. So we're making films. We're supporting Black filmmakers, and because we believe that we can plant the seeds to build a Black Hollywood that gives our people better options than what we're seeing right now. So those are some of the things we're trying to do. And thank you for listening to that. I appreciate it. And it's been really fun talking to you. So I'm going to go and spend some time with my woman because she needs some of my time too, because I work so much that I don't want to be a bad husband. So so by the way, so like I said, if you use the code, if you go to theblackbusinessschool.com and you use the code Black History Month 2020, one word, Black History Month 2020, you can get 80% off anything you sign up for, but it only works for the first 40 people. So go there now, use the code, and get 80% off. That's Black History Month 2020. That's one word. And go to theblackbusinessschool.com. That's where all the programs are, the Damon Dash program, the stock market class, all the things that are there. So feel free to take a look. So I'm out of here, guys. Have a good night. And it was fun talking to you. And I shall see you soon. Be good. Peace.